Hello everybody and welcome to week 5 of the official iRacing Le Mans series. We are live on Apex Racing TV from beautiful Suzuka. I'm Marco Barbanera and I'm not alone. Behind the cameras is Sam Kumo, and together with me in the commentary booth it's Ryan Walker. Hello Ryan.
Good evening. Hi everyone. Pleasure to be here.
So we are expecting the usual amazing racing here today. 1 hour race along the twisty corners of Suzuka, and Ryan, we are seeing a good spread of entries in all the classes, so it should be a close battle all the way through the field.
Yeah, absolutely, Marco. The iRacing Le Mans series so far this season has produced great racing, and tonight at Suzuka should be no exception.
Before we begin, and we are in the final minutes of qualifying, quickly the standings in the official series. Of course, they are scoring LMP1s, LMP2s, and the GTs. In the LMP1 class, the current leader is Patrick Wolf with 1,057 points. Fabrice Cornelis, Marcus Hamilton, Florian Kruger, and Thierry Rensen behind him. Then we have the LMP2 class, which is of course just the HPD. Johan Hart is the leader there, in front of Carlo Labati, Antti Levoska, Justin Hoppe, and Dirk van Tulden. And finally, in the GTE class, the most competitive of them all, with Ford, Ferrari, and of course the newly released Porsche, we got Gianni Vecchio leading the way, Michele Ricci in second position, Mikko Melkila in third position, Kevin Sieg in fourth, and David Peña Jimenez in fifth position. Some of these names, of course, are racing today, so we are expecting a close battle. Of course, it's going to be a one-stopper for all the classes. We are expecting, as usual, the LMP1s to stop first with around 30 to 28 minutes to go to their smaller fuel tank, whilst the HPDs and the GT cars are going to stop quite a bit later, as close as they can usually to the end of the race. One question, of course, Ryan, when we go and we have multi-class racing with cars that are so different in performance, is going to be lapping. And what do you expect from this track? Because I think there are a couple of very, very difficult spots, and you know that LMP1s try to get the most of their overtakes as soon as they can.
I think lapping GT traffic around Suzuka is going to be difficult, especially through the first sector of Suzuka, through the twisty section. It's going to be difficult to lap GT cars, and I think from the LMP1 drivers, it's going to require a lot of patience.
Okay, so we can show you the final qualification results. In LMP1, it's Will Tregurta in pole position, Thierry Rensen second, Michael Schwanzel in third, Pascal Kleuderlein is in fourth, then Michael Mitter, Julien Ribolot, Tanner McCulloch, Sergio Tapia, and Christoph Weitz. Then we have in the LMP2 category, Aurélien Talmon in pole position, Johan Hart is in second, Pascal Stix in third, Matthew Hogg in fourth, and Guilherme Cravo in fifth. Then the GTE field, Patrick Christoph Moser is in pole position, then Dennis Andlauer, Juuso Hietala, Michele Ricci, Barry Morrison, Simeon Lynch, Domen Gantar, Kai Uwe Basna, Ricardo Almeida, Dennis Branch, Jonathan Dance, Travis Davis, Michael Smith, Neil Middleton, and Cedric Boisier. No time set from Dominic Farber in the LMP1 field, so he will start at the back of his class, so basically in front of the LMP2s, and he's one of the fastest drivers out there, so we will probably have to take a look at Dominic during the race. So we are just waiting for the pace car to move. Track conditions are 26 degrees on track temperature, and it's a clear sky, so the track is of course early morning setting, so the track is not very hot. In fact, it's a little bit cold. It's going to help these drivers out, I think, as the pace car is moving. And we are getting closer and closer to the green flag. Very professionally, the drivers are keeping a little bit of distance between themselves and the other class in order to avoid any possible clashes in the first laps, and then let the race flow as expected. Will Tregorta is in pole position. Once again, he'll have the inside line. Hard right for the pace car. And we are racing at Suzuka, iRacing Le Mans Series. 1 hour starts right now, and it's a good start from Tregorta. Already looking to get a good gap between himself, Schwanzel and Rensen, and that's what he does with Schwanzel getting second position, Rensen third. All the other prototypes filing one after the other without any overly aggressive move. That is good to see. So the LMP1s have made their start, and the LMP2s got a little bit of a gap between the three leaders, Stallman, Hart and Stix. Cravo and Hogg are a little bit behind. Don't know what happened there, we will probably catch it later. And of course the usual chaos in the GT, with Moser having a huge gap from Andlauer, Ricci, Yetala, Morrison, Lynch and all the others, so something must have happened there. Good start by Ricci, gaining one position. We got, I think, a replay of the start, and yeah, that was a very, very quick getaway by the GT leader. And there was, oh, it was a massive crash there for Dom and Gantar, almost flipping. Ryan, not what you want to do at the beginning of a 1 hour race.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, that was. It might have been. I think he was just maybe pushing too hard in the last lap, or just he's maybe just a little bit nervous and just needs to settle down into a rhythm.
So once again, we are seeing Moser having 3.5 seconds of a lead between himself and car in second place, and that is of course oh, and Yetala is wide at the spoon curve. Tough corner to deal. There's a car in the grass, Simeon Lynch, one of the Porsches. Everybody trying to avoid him. Always we see great number of Porsches on the field. Of course, the newest car, also I think the coolest, even though I'm Italian and there's a Ferrari in the field, but I think the Porsche is absolutely the best. As Rensen now in third position in LMP1, second position, I'm sorry. Michael Schwanzel was in second and now is in third, so I think the two teammates, I think they are teammates, they swapped positions at the end of the first lap, or I think it was at the very first corner, because at the time of passing the start-finish line they were around, and they are going, they're trying to do everything, I think, to go and catch Will Tregart, of course, driver with real experience, running GT4 at the Bathurst 12 hours with the Ginetta, so a very, very experienced driver.
Yeah, absolutely. Will's being known to be quick in anything really on iRacing. Put him in any car on iRacing, and he's just absolutely mega quick.
Yeah, he was running the GTs in the Circuit of the Americas race, and he was, I think, in contention for the race win until the very end of the race, as we see Dominic Farber trying to make a move on Julien Ribolot, the car in front of him, the Audi. Of course, the Audi, a very particular car. Overall, the Porsche is faster, but if you know how to drive the Audi, you can get an advantage. But here Farber is much faster, goes on the inside, as we see one of the LMP2s coming out of the pits, so early pits, so with damage. Farber gets another position and moves on. And now this LMP2, of course, is in the middle of this P1 battle, the back macros of the P1 class. Pascal Stix is the car who is a little bit behind, had to go to the pit stop, to the box. Everybody trying to move around there. and they do so successfully. Aurélien Talmon, leader of the LMP2 class. He's got 1.2 seconds over Johan Hart. Matthew Hogg is 7 seconds behind. As we see, we hear some. Oh, Johan Hart, second position in the P2 class. Sideways, I think he had a significant advantage over Hogg. Yes, you see him there, so he maintained the position, but Talmon must be very, very happy about that, Ryan, because of course now he's getting even a bigger lead.
Yeah, I'm just watching the replay, and it looks like not Talmon, Harf just ran a little bit too wide and just caught too much of the outside curb, and it just spun him around.
A very rare mistake by Hart. He's such a clean driver usually, and that was unexpected from him. Schwanzel still battling with Rensen in turn 1 and 2, this double apex, but basically all the prototypes from P2 to P6 are running bumper to bumper, very, very close to each other. And we know these cars are so aerosensitive. If you give a little tap to the car in front of you, you are going to regret it dearly, especially in the long straights. So it's imperative that these guys drive clean and drive safely, and maybe study the positioning and try to make their overtakes as cleanly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to be fighting too early, or don't want to be too aggressive in the early stages of a race like this. If I was in this race or in a P1 car, I would just prefer to take the safe option and just settle down and settle into a rhythm.
Yeah, also because you are going to run into bigger problems later, because one thing is to try and make an overtake on an LMP1 car, but then the trouble will come when the lapping of the GTs and to a lesser extent the HPDs will come, because as we say every week here on iBX Racing TV during this broadcast, the speed differential between the LMP1s and all the other categories involved is massive. So it only takes a minimal misunderstanding between the two drivers and there could be serious problems.
Sorry to interrupt, Marco, but there was a move going on in the background for P3, which was Michael Swanzo. I can't say that name. I apologise, but yeah, there was a move, a change for position.
Yeah, he was sitting jostling between P2 and P3, but now he's in P4. Let's see the move from Pascal Kloderlein on the front stretch. Full boost, I suspect, and with these cars you can go basically full throttle into the first of the two right-handers. It's amazing the amount of downforce and grip that you have. And now Kloderlein is setting his sights on Thierry Rensen in front of him, and of course Will Tregurta now 5.2 seconds in front of P2, so building himself a nice little gap, because the guys behind him are battling really hard, providing us with very good entertainment. One thing we haven't talked about and will come into play later, of course, is the incident points. We have a maximum of 17 in this race, and you will see the LMP1 guys especially try to use them while making overtakes, as Tregurta is already lapping the first GTs. So sometimes you go a little bit out of the way, maybe on the grass, or a little bit wider to make the pass on the slower cars, because you can't afford to lose time, and you of course cannot afford to hit another competitor while trying to lap him.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tregurta's got a bunch of GT traffic in front of him, so you'll have to be careful when lapping it. Ooh, that was close.
This is great camera work by Sam Kumo behind the cameras, of course, showing how difficult it is and how quick the decision making has to be on both sides, on the prototype side and on the GT side. Usually the GT, if he stays where he is, it's good, and the prototype will run around him, but watch what's happening in front of Will. two GTs battling, and that is of course the trouble spot, because you want to get by them as quickly as possible, but also you don't want to disrupt their battle. See, oh, that was a good move by Will before the spoon curve to pass both these guys and get I think almost all the way through the GT field. I think he's got around I think 5 cars left, and then he will have to pass a little bit later the HPDs. Oh, you see contact there. That was what I was talking about. Little bit of a misunderstanding between the drivers. Hopefully Will doesn't have, and the GT car don't have much damage from that. That was clearly a little bit of contact there.
Ooh, yeah, I think that was just... I don't think anyone was to blame there. I think it was just a misunderstanding because of the speed difference, and yeah, hopefully Will doesn't have any aero damage, otherwise it could maybe compromise the handling, especially on the front end.
As the rest of the LMP1 pack is now making its way through the GT field, so for this GT driver, of course, also for the LMP1 drivers as well, it becomes now a matter of not only battling with their opponents, but also battling with the lap traffic. That's what makes this kind of racing so difficult, so exciting. You have to play your cars so perfectly in order to get the race win. Pure pace will not do the trick. Wow, there Michael Schwanzel so deep on the brakes at the hairpin. Sorry, that was Michael Bittner, so deep on the brakes there, trying to make that pass. He was able to, but for the GT drivers especially, this must be a couple of very terrifying laps.
Yeah, this is the thing with multi-class racing, is sometimes when you're lapping GT traffic, it can be a little bit terrifying.
See this, oh, lapping into 130R, wow, that was close, and one of the Ferraris has to go for a little bit of a trip in the grass. That was Dennis and Lauer, I think. Nope, it was Juuso Hietala, of course, number 3 car.
Swan's making a movement, no? Ooh, that was close.
Back to the front, or so what would like it to be. Dominic Farber, of course, now sitting in 7th position and constantly marching through the field. His next objective will be P6, is Julien Ribolot, and he is 1.9 seconds away, as the cameras are on Thunder McCulloch, which is in a battle with Christoph Weitz at the hairpin. McCulloch number 13, you see here in the Porsche. The reason why most of the drivers prefer the Porsche to the Audi is mainly because the Audi needs first, you really need to know how the car works. It's a very specific car, and secondly, the Audi prefers a very braking heavy style of track, much like the track we see in the real life World Endurance Championship, the modern Tilkodrome style tracks, whilst sometimes here on iRacing we don't have all those tracks, or we run different tracks than the usual schedule, so it's a little bit different to regenerate energy in that car, whilst the Porsche is a little bit more efficient. And I think the difference is also that the Porsche is able to regenerate energy while going in a straight and not only while braking. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that should be the main difference, and why most of the drivers are picking the Porsche 919 as their car of choice. Now the cameras are on the LMP2 leader, Aurélien Talmont, building a nice gap 8 seconds almost towards in front of Johan Hart. He made that that significant mistake did Johan Hart there a couple of laps ago, and he has not been able to recover. They are having similar lap times, but of course it's not enough for Johan Hart when you have 7 or 8 seconds to make up in order to close the gap. Maybe he will be helped a little bit by these lappers, and Aurelien will lose a little bit of time, but apart from that, it's going to be very, very tough to make up this 8-second deficit.
Yeah, Talman's just the way it's just scarper in a waist, and yeah, Harf doesn't seem to be able to close that gap at the moment, but luckily Harf has got a gap behind him a little bit to Matthew Hogg, so he can just go around doing laps and lap at a pace that he's consistent with, not consistent, comfortable with.
Great battle for P2 in GT. We got Michele Ricci in front of Barry Morrison going at the final chicane, the Casio Triangle. And these two have been battling for quite a bit. Let's see if Morrison will get enough slipstream to get by the Italian driver at the end of the front stretch. Ricci stays in front, but these two are very, very close, and also Ietala and Lauer are closing on these two guys. So it's Porsche, Ferrari and Ford in positions 2 through 4. 2 through 5, of course, of GT. Always had a little bit of problem with counting. But yeah, nice to see this manufacturer diversity at the top of the pack in GT. That's what we like to see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always nice to see a bit of variety when it comes to GT racing and people choosing different cars or racing different cars, and it just makes it much more exciting.
Which one do you prefer of the GT cars? The Ferrari, the Ford, the Porsche?
My favourite car, I would say, for feeling comfortable with, I would have to say, is probably the Ferrari. If I wanted to race a car that was quick in a race for straight line speed, I would have to say the Ford. And I don't have the Porsche at the moment, so I can't comment on that.
You know, I'm feeling very, very comfortable when I drive the Ferrari, but the scream of the Porsche engine is tempting me and tempting my wallet day in and day out. Back to the top of the LMP1 field, Michael Schwanzel is on your screens right now, sitting in P5. He lost a couple of positions based on his starting of his qualifying time, and Julien Ribolot is closing on him, 0.6 of a second behind him with the Audi, I think one of the only Audis, but also he has to defend from Dominic Farber, which has been closing on him in the past few laps. Farber seems to have the slipstream and will try to make the move into the first corner. Let's see. He's a little bit behind. He needs to be very brave. He was thinking about it, but not enough space. But I think that Farber will go for the move before the end of this lap or at the beginning of the next one. As we are closing in on the first 20 minutes of this race on the clock, so around 41 to go. And again, we are expecting the first pit stops by the LMP1s in around 10 seconds, as they are lapping now an LMP2 car. Very close quarter battles here. With all the three categories basically bunched together at the hairpin. Farber losing a little bit of ground from Ribolo. Going a bit wide here at Spoon. Nothing major. But once again now is Ribolo pushing on Schwanzel. So these three are basically getting like an accordion effect, corner after corner. Now, for example, is Farber very close to the Audi on the outside of the Casio triangle. Nice defending by Ribolo. And Farber has to wait once again as we see car number 17, Thierry Renson.
Farber's got a run.
Yeah, good run there.
Oh, car off in turn 1.
Yeah, we saw a plum of smoke there as Farber is making... Oh, Renson, I saw... I was just about to say, as Farber finishes his pass, he was lapping the Ford number 23. I don't know if there was contact between the pair or if it was a mistake, because I saw with the corner of my eye that he was going for, I think, a late move, or very risky. I wouldn't say risky, but it looked a bit late there at the end of the front stretch. So I don't know if there's been contact between the Ford and the Audi there. We'll know soon enough as this battle continues.
Yeah, I'm just looking back at the replay of Renson, and it just looks like he just went into turn 1 and the rear end just snapped on him.
Yeah, so I don't. So that wasn't lapping related, but yeah. Right, now we see the replay on screen. So it wasn't a late move. I have to apologize. From the camera, it looked like much closer than it was in reality, and that was, yeah, you are absolutely right. And also he smashed the wall very hard. So that's game over for him. As we hear and see other contacts there. Very chaotic situation here at the Casio triangle with Dominic Farber once again the protagonist. Very chaotic moments here, and I think these LMP1 guys are waiting for those pit stop just to catch their breath a little while and then go back to racing. I am look at the battle in front. Oh, 3 wide there with the GT car, the Ferrari, and the LMP2 car. Whoa, very close. Wow, this is close quarters battles, and like I said, like I was going to say, I am expecting only fuel for these guys and no tires in all 3 classes. There's not enough time to gain anything by changing tires. You lose more time by changing tires, and then you can gain basically on the track. As Farber now is up into position 5 and going for a pass on, I think that was Schwanzel. Also there's a slow Ford. They are 3 wide going into 130R. This is not going to work. They don't sort themselves out. Look at that, cars moving left and right. Also they are getting once again into the top of the GT field, and they are battling as well, of course, as they should. So Wiltre Gurta has got 16 seconds over Pascal Kloderlein, but then everybody behind Kloderlein is basically close. Another 3 wide there. Wow. And they make it through, but Midner passes Kloderlein and now is in second position. Crazy racing here at Suzuka, and we are still with a long way to go. Yeah,
the way these guys are going at it in LMP1 at the moment, they're treating it more like a 60-second sprint race.
Yeah. yeah, they didn't get the memo about the 1 hour race distance, I think. as they all go very, very wide at the second Degner corner now. Going to the hairpin, very important not to lock your brakes with these cars, because basically you go straight on if you lock the brakes due to the drive being on all four wheels. As Farber gets on the inside of Cloderline and makes the move. And now he's in P3 and aiming towards Michael Mittner. Ribolo in the back trying to make its way past Cloderline. And really having a good showing with his Audi. Barry Morrison here lost a little bit of contact between himself and Michele Ricci, as we see Yetala going a little bit wide. And that is because there are, of course, cars being lapped, so that's why Ricci, I think, was able to build this little bit of a cushion between himself and Morrison, till the class leader has got almost 9 seconds over Ricci, class leader being Patrick Christoph Moser. Here it is. Here he is in the yellow and black Ferrari. Back to this battle for P3, Morrison, battle for P3, Morrison and Yetala, with Lynch lurking behind, trying to gain the moment these two may slip.
Yep, if I was Lance, I would be happy just to sit there at the moment in case Morrison and Yetala slip up, and it gives a chance for Lance to slip up the inside and gain a couple of positions.
On board with the Finnish driver, let's see if he will try for a move at 130R. He makes a dummy just to be seen from Morrison's rear view mirrors, and then hard into the braking zone at the Casio triangle over the curbs. You can see the Porsche of Ricci in front of them, now getting 1.8 seconds over Morrison, so trying to maintain that gap. Yetala in the slipstream, will he try a move? No, he won't. It's very inviting there. Also, you have a little bit of banking to help you, but really there's no space for a move there unless you are really desperate. But if the car in front of you has good positioning, it's almost impossible to get something done in the first two corners. Yetala still looking for a way through. Degner 1, Degner 2, very difficult corners. They close on you really quickly. Maybe we'll try for a pass here at the hairpin. No, he's still waiting. And of course we have to give props to Morrison because he's defending really well. Now battle in the LMP1 class, Mittner and Farber. P2 and P3. Farber is having a great race.
Ooh, GT traffic in front.
Yeah. Nice move by the Ford there to get out of the way. Farber, obviously the driver of the day as of this moment, 7 positions gained. He didn't register a valid qualifying lap time, so maybe a mistake for him. And didn't get his lap counted, but he's making up for it by putting on a show for us, gaining all these positions. As we see Yetala and Morrison once again at the Casio triangle, Ooh, great defending by Morrison. Yetala has to yield once again and has to wait as we see car number 14 coming. Christoph Weitz is an LMP1 guy who stopped for his pit stop a little bit earlier than predicted. He makes his move and gets out of this guy's way really quickly, so now they have to deal with his LMP2 car. I really like this race because even if the three class leaders have decent margins over the rest of the field, all the other positions basically are involved in a battle, so it's good entertainment, and you never know what might happen. As Yetala now once again goes very deep on the brakes at Degner 2, try to get the slipstream. It's not a very long run from here to the hairpin there, but
Faber's making a move on Mittner into turn 1. And that is Faber up into P2 now.
Another position as we see the replay right now. Thank you, Sam. And Schwanzel and Tapia, two of the LMP1s, are in the pits. So the LMP1s are starting to get their stops done and get ready for the end of the race. On the outside, Farber, nice boost there, nice line. And he was clear. Oh! That was very close for Mittner and Farber. As we see once again Yetala, we see Morrison, and now Lynch, which I think is a teammate of Morrison because they have, I think, the same livery on a different car. All together, so the constant battling between Morrison and Yetala made made Lynch close up the gap, and now it's a three-way battle for the final podium spot in GT. On board with the Ford briefly as we are back with the trackside cameras. Yetala has a good run here. Problem is, it's not an easy place to pass. Really, you can only use these two corners as a setup for the hairpin, but Morrison seems to have a very good drive out of the second corner, and he is able to get that little bit of a gap, which as soon as I say it, of course, Yetala goes on the inside. But once again, Morrison has a very good drive out of these corners, and now I think that Yetala has to watch in his mirrors, because I think he will be under attack very soon by Lynch. Let's see. They are going together towards 130R. Let's hope that nothing silly happens here. Still a long way to go. Oh, the Porsche is very close.
Running heat up.
And now Yetala dives in. Has to be hard on the brakes in order to avoid contact. The status quo remains the same. But these three are putting on a great show as other LMP1s stop. I think only Farber has to stop in the LMP1 field. So, great fuel economy by our race leader. He is in right now. And he should be able to maintain the leadership of this race when he comes out of the pits. Sorry, of course not, because Tregurta is the effective race leader. This GT battle got me a little bit confused. These guys are getting me so excited. Of course, Tregurta leading the race basically from the beginning, gets the lead back. And Farber now is out of the pits. Let's see where will he slot. We see two of his opponents coming. They are Midner and Ribolo. And Farber is comfortably ahead of them. So sorry about the confusion there. Of course, Will Tregurta dominating this race in the LMP1 class. We'll see if Farber, well, he has got 18 seconds between himself and Tregurta, so I doubt that he will be able to close the gap between himself and the Trustmaster Mivano driver. Cloderline now on your screens in front of Sergio Tapia. They are in the bottom of the LMP1 field after Thierry Rensen retirement. And we saw, I think, just a glimpse of a little bit of a mistake by Tapia, and now Cloderline will try to pull away. Oh, another mistake there. And he's wide. Hopefully avoided the fences there. But yeah, all in favor of Cloderline, of course. Getting a little bit of a gap as we see the replay. Let's see what happens. Too fast, overcooked the corner, then sideways, then on the grass, on the sand, and yeah, he avoided the tire barrier there, so he was able to keep going, because like we saw in the beginning with Rensen, if you hit the wall with these cars, is pretty much game over. So, in the three classes, the three leaders, as we see once again, oh, we see Lynch getting around Yetala right now. So, he was able to make the pass, and Yetala being all these, as we see the replay right now, all these laps behind behind Morrison, has now lost the position in the first corner. Nice pass there, and he gets the job done. So hopefully these three guys will let me remind you quickly the top three in each category. Tregurta, Farber and Mittner in the LMP1, Talmon, Hogg and Hart in LMP2, and Moser, Ricci and Morrison in LGTE. Ricci is of course using this battle once again to get even more of a gap. He's now up to 4.5 seconds between himself and Morrison, so he's looking good for P2 for the Italian driver. Now we'll see if Morrison will be attacked by Lynch. As Hart trying to make his way through these guys. Not an easy task to do. Always great to see the overtaking process of the lap cars from the onboard of these drivers. Really makes you appreciate the quick decision making that these guys need to have in order to make it safe and fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just watching Ricci right now in the GT class, and yeah, he's seems to be driving really well at the moment, and he seemed to take advantage of that battle that was going on behind him, and he's managing to increase the gap.
Yeah, he is not closing on the leader, as we see there are a couple of guys that still have to pit in the LMP2 category. Matthew Hogg is one of them, he's in right now. Talmon has to pit as well. Art, Stix and Cravo have all pitted. Now the attack. Lynch gets it done before 130R. Now he's in third position. Nice quick move. So was able to get back to the two guys that were in front of him and pass them in a couple of laps, and he gets promoted to the podium position, and we'll see if he will be able to distance himself as Barry Morrison has entered the pits. So maybe he's trying to get out of traffic, basically. He's been battling for the past I think half an hour or so, even more, 40 minutes with these guys. So maybe get out of the traffic, get some clean air, put the fuel in, and basically reset. With Kurt having a great day in front, never in doubt so far. As we are entering the final 20 minutes, a couple of scary moments here and there, but all around a masterful driving performance. And like you said in the beginning, Ryan, he is competitive in every car you put him in on iRacing, and I have to say in real life as well. I really would like to be like him. I do the opposite. I am terrible in every car they put me in.
Yeah, it sounds like me. Stick me on a former Renault, I'm fine. Stick me on a GTE car, I'm fine. But stick me in anything else, and I'm just absolutely terrible.
It's also interesting to see how clean he is, as now the cameras are on Michele Ricci entering the pits from second position in GT, and also we see Yetala and Andlauer in the box as well. Moser and Lynch are staying out. Once again, fuel only for these guys. Like we said, the GT drivers will be the last to pit. Basically, they have the bigger tank, and the strategy here when you're not taking tires usually is pit as late as possible. The only, as we see a slower car there, I think was a lap GT car, Jonathan Dance, yes. The only reason not to pit this late is if you have a spotter, and a really good spotter at that can calculate basically the time you get into the pits, and then say, okay, if you pit now, you're going to have clean track. As you see the replay, and Jonathan Dance, sideways there. So it was not just letting the other cars by. He made a mistake, and he was almost collected by a couple of competitors. So a scary moment there for him. And now once again Morrison and Yetala battling, and I think this will go on until the checkered flag falls, as the GT class leader is in.
Yep, I'm guessing, yeah, it looks like it'll be fuel only for Patrick Christoph Moser. So yeah, he's got a big enough gap, and he should hopefully, yeah, he'll probably will come out in the lead of the GT class once all the pit stops have cycled through.
Yeah, there are a couple of guys that still have to pit. Simeon Lynch, Branch, Travis Davis, Middleton, Almeida, etc. But these guys are a little bit behind the race leaders and the leader, of course. So in the end of at the end of the day, it should be he should cycle Moser. He should cycle back to in front when all is done and dusted at the end of the pit cycle. I have to say, and I say it usually, yeah, almost every time, but I cannot help but say that some of these car designs are absolutely brilliant, and it's a joy to see all the different liveries and colors on the field. Even though being in Japan, I was hoping for something like an art car, like you see sometimes in the Super GT, like the Mercedes AMG Good Smile, which is an awesome car. If you've never seen that,
favorite livery in the GT class has to be the Patrick Christoph Moser car. It's nice. It's simple, but it's nice at the same time.
yeah, and also Ferraris usually are red, and when you see a Ferrari that is not red, it's always a big thumbs up for me. because it's not boring. Now Middleton, you see him here as Dennis Branch is in the pits. Middleton is in the number 28 Porsche here, and his opponent, of course, he was battling with, has just entered the pits. So Lynch is in first, Moser is in second, having already pitted, then Middleton, who has yet to stop, Ricci has pitted, and Dance has yet to stop. So behind him there will be Morrison, Yetala and Andlauer once the pit stops are over. Some nice TV time for Simeon Lynch, and he deserves it, because he made a great comeback, gaining a couple of positions, and now getting again some valuable sponsor time, and he will add into the pits, I think, soon enough, together with the remaining GT cars. We are under 15 to go here at Suzuka. We know these GT cars can go long, but not that long, as we see once again this battle between Morrison and Yetala. Absolutely fantastic. Maybe a little bit of contact there. Jonathan Dance is out of sequence, but has all the rights to defend his position there. So this will be interesting. Maybe Yetala is losing a little bit of patience, as I think Tregurta is coming around to lap them once again. Gets them on a straight, so it doesn't interrupt the battle, which is good. So they have to be very careful if, for example, Dance decides to enter the pits at the last second to cause an issue there. Let's see. They are closing in on him. Oh yeah, he's in the pits.
Oh, he's got to watch out. He's got a P2 and a GT car in front of him.
So that was Lynch, and he lost ground in the end to these two guys. He was in front of them when the pit stops began, and even though these two guys were battling, he lost quite a bit of time. So it didn't work for him, this strategy. That's odd, because usually when you have a lot of free track and your two main opponents are battling, usually you end up on top, even if you get a very late pit stop when tires are not involved. Very long pit stop, they say, from the control room. Let's see, 28 seconds. So maybe accidentally changed tires or he got a penalty.
Yep, just Tregurta's just lapping the GT leader at the moment, and yeah, just under 10 minutes remaining, and it looks like Tregurta can just coast home from here.
I won't say anything because I am famous for curses that last for days, so I'm going to wait a bit. But yeah, it's looking very good for Will right now, and again, all the three class leaders had it very easy today. Of course, it's never easy, but because you have to battle and lap cars, etc., we said it all night long. But yeah, battling wise, they didn't have a lot of battling in class. to do today. The gap between Will and Farber is 21 seconds. In LMP2, the gap between Talmon and Hart is 25 seconds. The gap between Moser and Ricci in the GT class is 10 seconds. But apart from that, again, we are having very, very close battles all over the field. Moser now getting lapped by an LMP2 car. It should be P2, I think. I am old school and I call them LMP2 because I still remember the days of LMP 900s and you know, back in the late 90s and early 2000s when Audi's open cockpit Audis were all the rage. It also shows my age a little bit. But yeah, I think it should be P1 and P2 and not LMP1 and LMP2, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, again, I'm getting older and memory is not working well sometimes, especially when it concerns racing classes. Casio triangle for RGT leader. Ricci following closely, sort of. 9 seconds and a half. As we see a replay of Kai-Uwe Basna getting lapped by an LMP2 going into the grass and sideways, and that was almost trouble. It ended with just a trip in the grass and no contact between himself and that P2 car, but not ideal to have such scary moments with only 8 minutes and 50 seconds to go. Guilherme Cravo here is sitting in P5 of the 5-car P2 field, avoiding Ford there, and then losing it. Good save, back on the track. Not a lot of time lost there. So, the cameras are on Barry Morrison once again. Himself and his teammate, I think the real protagonists of this stream tonight, and for good reasons. He has been able to pull a little bit of a gap between himself and Yetala. As we see the LMP2 leader getting by, hopefully. Aurélien Talmon. Another LMP1 car comes by between these two battling GTs. As we are now officially with 7 minutes 20 seconds to go. Pascal Coderlin making a move on Christoph Weitz into the first corner. It's all happening around these two GT cars basically all race long. When there's something interesting, it's always in the area of these two guys here, and of course also Simeon Lynch. The LMP1 cars make their way through and can push on, and I think now they will get to Michele Ricci there, and also to Talmon, the LMP2 leader. Oh, a little bit of a mistake there from Cloderline. And Weitz tries to make the move on the outside. There's Ricci in the middle there.
Ooh, this is close.
This is very, very close. And Weitz gets his position back. Cloderline will not be happy with himself with that mistake he made at the hairpin. Now they are lapping the P2 class leader. Be careful there. Cloderline is losing a little bit of time. He will have to stay put here at the Casio triangle. He should make the pass on the start-finish line, yes. But time is running out for Cloderline, and that mistake can be very, very costly for him. Battling for P8, P7, now getting a good run in the first two corners. There's nothing between these two guys here. Different lines from the drivers. Of course, here it's just following the car in front of you. Here and then these two corners here as they come up to lap traffic once again. And then from this point on you can really start plotting your move. That was the GT leader, of course. And now it's Weitz that locks his brakes entering the corner. Cloderline doesn't seem to have enough bite to close the gap going into Spoon. Now a replay of Ricci. I think. Yeah. And he is fired from the team, yes. Of course, I'm kidding. Big mistake by Michele, by the way, there. And now he's under big pressure from Barry Morrison. Uncharacteristic mistake from Michele. He's a very, very... usually keeps his cool. And that was a strange mistake, especially this late in the race. And now we'll have to face big pressure from Morrison. And all seemed lost for Morrison and Yetala for second position. And now the race is back on.
Morrison might be able to get a run on Ritchie here.
Yeah, also Lynch is back in the hunt for the second position, I think. 3 minutes 30 seconds to go. Morrison looking on the inside. Ricci is defending. Double apex there as usual. But I have to say Morrison is very, very close here. We'll see if Ricci has got his composure back after that mistake. He was able to pull a nice gap during the course of the race. So he knows he has the pace. But also he had to defend from Morrison and these other guys in the beginning of the race before the lapping really began. So I don't know if that was just pure pace or good usage of overtaking maneuvers from Ricci's part to create that. I think was 8 seconds gap. Big mistake by Ricci there, very, very deep on the brakes. Morrison closing the gap, having a little bit of a better exit there going into Spoon. Yetala waiting in the wings for any kind of mistake by these two drivers on board with the Ferrari.
Ricci and Morrison have got to watch out though, because Yusso Hiatala is right behind there.
Getting to 130R, lifting to make the corner. And now the Casio triangle once again, and there's an LMP2 car disrupting this battle. Ricci will take that for the moment, as also Tregurta is coming. So big chaos on the track, as this LMP2 car has got a little bit of a problem in order to make the pass. I think he has a bit of damage because he wasn't able to get a very good run coming out of the final corner, and he had to really, really work to get the move on Barry Morrison. And now he's having trouble passing Ricci as well. Meanwhile, Yetala now getting closer and closer to Morrison. Rich is a little bit wide. Makes the P2 car go by him. And the battle for P2 is back on. One hour of racing and we are still bumper to bumper for the second, third, fourth and fifth position in the GT class. Good run here by Lynch. But he goes a little bit wide there. Casio triangle once again, Lynch on the outside. Not a good passing spot there. Lynch trying now again on the outside. Yetala on the inside. Now he has the inside. Lynch does. Almost touching each other. Coming in is an LMP1 car. And Lynch makes the move.
Yeah, nice move by Lynch. So I'm wondering if Lynch will be used as maybe used as help to try and hold Piatella back.
Yeah. Connection issues for Mittner. He's out of the race. Wow. He's having a good run, sitting in P4. And I also think we are getting the white flag for our race leader. And more than that, Will Tregurta has won the race in the LMP1 class. Classy win for him. Never in doubt. Good drive. And he gets home the race victory. So does Talmon in the P2 class and Moser in the GTE field. As we're waiting for the other cars to go to the start-finish line, it's going to be a battle, but Ricci is going to take P2 in the GTE field. Is Morrison in third position, Lynch in fourth and Yetala in fifth. That was a very close finish in GT. These guys entertained us all race long. We are waiting for the final finishers in all the classes and then we will show the final results here from Suzuka. Another great Wednesday night of racing here on Apex Racing TV in the iRacing Le Mans series. We are waiting on just a couple of drivers. So, Ryan, an amazing race, lots of entertainment through and through, and once again the Le Mans series did not disappoint.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a absolutely brilliant race to watch. Yeah, P1 it was a bit of a walkover for Walter Gerfer, but the rest of the P1 class provided great racing, and also the P2 was a little bit quiet, but the GT class in the closing stages, the closing stages was absolutely brilliant to watch. And as you say, the iRacing Le Mans series never fails to disappoint.
I think we have a driver up for interviews, but before we do the interviews, I think it's important to let you know the finishing results. So, in the LMP1 class, Will Tregorta is the race winner over Dominic Farben, Julien Ribolot, Michael Schwanzel, Tanner McCulloch, Pascal Kloderlein, Sergio Tapia, Christoph Weitz, Michael Bittner and Thierry Rensen. In the LMP2 category, Aurélien Tolmon wins over Johan Hart, Matthew Hogg, Pascal Stix and Guilherme Cravo. And finally, in the GT classes, Patrick Christoph Moser taking home the checkered flag in front of Michele Ricci, Barry Morrison, Simeon Lynch, Yuso Yetala, Dennis Sandlauer, Neil Middleton, Travis Davis, Ricardo Almeida, Kai-Uwe Basner, Michael Smith, Jonathan Dance, Dennis Branch, Cedric Boisier, and Domen Gantar. We basically never started the race because, if you remember, he had a crash at the very first, before the first corner. And I think we've got P2 in the LMP1 class with us. It's Dominic Farber. Hello, Dominic.
Good evening.
So, I don't know what happened in qualifying. I think you had troubles with your laps, but then you made it up with a great drive through the field and finishing with a nice second position.
Yeah, first of all, in quali, I ran out of fuel on my second lap. I pinned the first one and then tried the second one, but ran out of fuel. So that was last row for me. But yeah, I think I got the maximum result out of it. Will was just way too fast for me to pass him from the back. Maybe if I would have started from the first row, then maybe I could have challenged him a bit. But like this, yeah, I think that was the maximum result I could take today.
How was it to basically start from the back of the P1 field and make your way through? How do you compare passing in your own class versus lapping, and you know that being in an LMP1 car you have to do a lot of lapping throughout the race?
Yeah, obviously passing the own class is way more difficult, especially on this track, I feel. Traffic was actually helpful to me, I guess, except for one point where a little contact with the GT happened, which threw me even further back. But yeah, I think the pace on my car was good enough, so passing wasn't really a problem, especially in LMP1 with the boost. You know, just save a bit and then use it on the next straight, and yeah, that made it quite easy.
Speaking of tracks, next week we will be at Road America. Are you planning to race there, and what do you think about LMP1s on that particular track?
Yeah, definitely. Very much looking forward to it because I was there, or I was very successful there last season. So I'm looking forward to go back there and hopefully have another good race like today there next week then.
Okay, thank you, Dominic. Is there anyone you would like to thank after the race?
Yeah, obviously you guys for broadcasting this. I think, in my opinion, that's the best series you could have picked, and I think the race today showed again that it's worth it to be broadcasted. So thanks to you guys, and thanks to Alex Simpson from Apex Academy. I'm a member of the Apex Academy, so thanks to him.
Okay, thank you, Dominic. And now we have the LMP1 race winner. It's Will Tregorta. Hello, Will. Congratulations.
Thanks. Thanks.
So, it looked easy from here, but we know it's never easy. Also, we saw you having a little bit of a scary moment in the very beginning of the race while passing, I think, a GT car. Describe your race.
Yeah, it was. I pulled away at the start, managed to get a bit of gap. I didn't really know whether to sort of save the battery or just try and blast away and get a gap. So yeah, it was a bit interesting with all the back markers. Definitely had a couple of scary moments, but I'm not really used to the LMP1 cars properly yet. So unfortunately, I won't be able to race next week because I'll be racing at Spa in European GT4. But no, I really enjoyed these. It's really good fun.
Yeah, nice. You give me a nice lead because I remember commentating on the Cota Circuito de Americas race, and you were racing a GTE car, if I'm not mistaken, there. So now you jump to the LMP1. Are you finding it difficult to adapt? And why are you changing cars basically week in and week out?
Just because it's fun. To be honest, I really just do it because I enjoy it. So if I want to drive LMP1 car one week and GTE car the next, you know what? It just keeps me sort of focused in both cars. And I think the switching around is quite good for sort of learning to be a bit more adaptable. And it's always good to drive from sort of the other class's perspective, because then you can sort of have an idea of what other people are going to do, which is always useful.
So next week you said you won't be around. Will you be back in time for Monza? Because I think that is going to be an interesting track for the series.
Yeah, I should do. I definitely want to do it. It would be really cool. See if I can do what I did sort of earlier in the season and sort of try and do one race in each class, which I'll try and do. But yeah, I just want to do as much of this season as possible because just love the cars, isn't it?
Is there anyone you would like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, definitely. Thrustmaster Movano, Sim Racing. Just recently joined these guys and bang on, and it's pretty awesome to be with these. So yeah, really pleased with that. Thanks.
Okay, congratulations once again, Will, and thank you for spending a little bit of your time with us.
Thanks.
So, I think we can call this a night. It has been very entertaining race, and once again this series has delivered. From Marco Barbanera and for Ryan Walker and Samuli Kumo behind the cameras, good night, and we'll see you in the coming days, because every day there's something going on Apex Racing TV, so subscribe on YouTube and don't miss a single broadcast. Good night.